What is your favorite inside joke with your so? We have a game about being the first to point out a pineapple whenever we go anywhere. Ah, we have that, but with any discarded fruit you might see on the street. Zitch fruit. My wife misplaces her phone around the house quite often, prompting her to question out loud, where'd my phone go? It began to get repeated and mumbled as, my phone go? To which I cheerily repeat mofongo, which is a Puerto Rican food. I really like nature documentaries and inevitably there will be a portion on weird bird mating rituals. I like to pretend I find elaborate dances and wildtails feather sexually attractive. So instead of sexting my husband I send him gifs of courting male birds to indicate I'm in the mood. One time before we were married my husband left a pen in his pants pocket and it exploded all over his family's clothes in the dryer. His mom told him this is the worst thing you've ever done. Sh's a little dramatic now. If one of us causes a minor inconvenience the other will go this is the worst thing you've ever done. Giving each other the thumbs up sign at some event doesn't mean I'm doing good. It is the scuba diving signal for let's surface. In other words I want to leave. As an introvert married to an extrovert, I need this. I have to use that now. I instinctively use the OK sign when I'm trying to say good job instead of thumbs up because I think I'm doing it wrong. IDK an OK sign with squinted eyes and lips in the shape of a silent U indicates a pretty nice thing. Alternatively, an OK sign with closed eyes, a nostalgic face, and a hand up really exemplify how beautiful the sun rises when it shines just right. All these Nazis in here SMH hashes. Your face is okay, I guess. She gets self-conscious and uncomfortable when I tell her that she's beautiful, and she kept telling me to stop. I finally asked her what I could say instead, when I'm thinking this, that she would be okay with hearing. This is what she told me to say instead. I tell her that her face is okay a lot. We like to say yeah, well I like your face, like it's an insult. What are you buying? What are you selling? My so is from New Orleans. There's a neighborhood called Chalmette where the locals apparently say swimps instead of shrimp. I always casually laughed it off, never believing him, until we ordered some food around the area and the woman asked if we wanted swimps. I laughed for about 10 minutes after we left, and when we visited his folks I told them the story, but couldn't get out swimps and his mother laughed, and, in this sweet mother-like voice says, what? Swimps? I lost it. We still say that now. Have you ever ordered an juice? My grandma has always said shrimps, and she's from Iowa. I've always wondered if that's an accent or speech impediment. She also says wash. My husband's phone auto-corrected Highway 9 to Ghetto Blaster so ever, since we call that highway Ghetto Blaster. For some reason my girlfriend's old GPS would call a drive doctor, so we'd laugh at it saying turn on to Lamarook's doctor. We'd insist that they didn't go to medical school to be called drives. Ours does that too. We laugh all the time at the GPS, because our roads have names that the GPS can't pronounce and it's amusing. My wife fell through the sheetrock in our attic trying to get wrapping paper one year. She is fine and made it out with only a small fracture on her vertebrae. As scary as that situation was, the first thing she said when I got to her in the hospital was oh yeah like the Kool-Aid man. So now the nickname for her is Kool-Aid between me and her. Nobody has yet to figure out why. Nice. My only gripe is that you waited until you got to the hospital to say it ha ha ha. Nobody has yet to figure out why so. Everyone knows? Purposely pronouncing the P sound as a B. My so's first language is Arabic. Since there is no P sound in the language, so it all gets substituted for a B. So we are often heard talking about Betsy and Spiderman. Whenever my wife or I can't understand what someone is saying we refer to them as the Swedish chef once away from the conversation, so you'd often hear us yelling bark, bark, bark from across the house and making silly Swedish noises. We sing different things we do in the melody of Indiana Jones. Right before our first kiss me, and so we're in the hot tub chatting. She was closing in on me for a kiss, but her actions became really nervous, which was cute, because she never gets nervous around me. We had just got back from a run, and she said running is good for you as she patted the top of the water quite nervously. I burst out laughing, and couldn't let that slide as we both love running, and are obviously aware of its health benefits. She ended up kissing me after that, but we still laugh about running is good for you or reference it when one of us says something like that. We are moving to Texas, so we've been calling each other partner and overusing the word yeehaw as well as the cowboy emoji, and it's easily the stupidest thing ever but also my favorite. Whenever the opportunity arises, hidden finger jutsu 1000 years of death. I'm not sure whether this is legendary or I'm now getting scared to let my crush get behind me and not know what she's doing. Our favorite comedian is John Mulaney, so basically any reference to his stand-up. The other day we heard someone say bone dry in conversation and we started cracking up. Nobody knew why we were laughing. Slapping our knees. His hick accent often slips out, and I make fun of him for it. In the beginning I used to exaggerate it and say things like, well slap my knee, partner, while jumping around like a dingus. Now when it slips, depending on where we are, I always slap my knee and sometimes repeat what he just said and how he said it. If somebody else is speaking like that we slap our knees to communicate to the other to get a load of this guy. Me, what do you want to do? Him, play some Nintendo? In unison, bone some chicks. I love that movie. I don't think I've ever quoted that line before, but I should. So I absolutely love this movie, but never found anyone else who had heard of it or even enjoyed it until I met my BF, who adores it just as much as I do. We discovered this accidentally too, by him telling me about this super awesome movie that no one else seems to like. So one of the first dates we had was a stay-at-home date, and we got to watch it again. So now we are randomly cracking quotes from it at each other. I love it. Our other favorite line is "You got a plan, Junior?" OHH, I've got a plan, alright. Got a great big plan. Just when discussing what we are going to do for the day. It's awesome sauce. I love inside jokes. I hope to be a part of one someday. We were pretty buzzed at Disneyland and decided to stop and eat at the Golden Horseshoe. For those that don't know, they put on a show about every hour. My boyfriend urged us to finish and leave as the show was starting. We were sitting in the very front, right by the stage. A minute into the show, he gets called on stage. His only line on stage was "I'll drink to that," and he executed it with the best southern accent. They told him to say it in Spanish not knowing he could speak Spanish, and he didn't. Everyone went crazy. So every time we have anything remotely celebratory we say "I'll drink to that." I had too much fun seeing him on stage, lol. I was just there, and they did the exact same skit. Lol, how ironic. It was pretty entertaining, especially with the boyfriend up there. My 8-year-old brother was called up to the stage and asked to repeat a few phrases. Then the last phrase was something like "Sidivjuvosbixoravech." One time my boyfriend was super baked and also had a sore throat. He excused himself to the bathroom and just stood in there doing nothing for a bit, then came back and said in a really concerned voice, "I think I've burned my esophagus now." Anytime one of us gets up to go to the loo we tell each other, "Don't burn your esophagus." We have a little stuffed bunny with an eye patch butch bunny that we take turns hiding in the other person's things, shoes, bags, jackets. My boyfriend was hanging out at my house and he was super tired. He looks up at one of the signs that says "You are my sunshine," and since some of the letters are different colors on it, he says "You are my UC." Now it's a name we call each other. One time I was eating Cheetos and the crunching was so loud that my wife had to turn the TV volume up to hear our show. Ever since then we have called it Cheeto volume. For example, once I was trying to talk to my wife on the phone and I was around some extremely loud equipment. I told her it was really loud and she was going to have to talk at Cheeto volume for me to hear her. It's really simple and silly, but I love it so much. Dang, I love my wife. My wife's brother was into wrestling in the 90s, and she recently had to explain to me what the heck the people's elbow was. Anyway, now I use POPs to describe anything undesirable, and it drives her nuts. Bad service. We got the people's waitress. Car accident. The people's crash. Tickling her mercilessly. The people's fingers. Leftovers went moldy. It's the people's leftovers. I make up gestures and alternate ways to tell her I love you, and then she reciprocates. So far the common ones are bending slightly and quickly shaking your knees back and forth, and beep boop. I'm a woman and I take very hot showers. Sometimes my so comes in to try and be cute to shower with me. I allow him to get into the water. And he goes, "Gah, why is this water so cold?" and his entire body is turning extremely red. The grandma walk also jinx is always fun. Me to my boyfriend or him to me, "I love you." I know. She says she only dates me because I look like Brad Pitt. I look nothing like him. That's the joke. Dash. The joke is that she dates you for who you are, and you should be less conscious about it. Telling my wife similar stuff like a girl tells you, so could be biased input. My fiance started it by whispering butter lettuce in my ear, but the way he whispered it made me physically cringe 2 years later, and we're still constantly whispering butter lettuce into each other's ear to make the other cringe. Funny thing though, we were talking about getting butter lettuce tattoos during the week of our wedding. Turn out I always thought butter lettuce was just a leaf of lettuce with a square of butter on top. Turn out it's a type of lettuce. Gave us a good laugh. My lady and I make dog food from scratch: meat, eggs, green beans, yogurt, and mashed potatoes. My favorite thing is, when we are in the grocery store splitting up to get different items, we'll say things like, "Okay, I'll go get the dog eggs, or dog meat, or dog yogurt." You get the idea. People always look at us weird. I find it highly amusing. If one of us burps, or hiccups, or we just randomly say burp, we both say the famous role-playing game, referencing GURPS, the famous role-playing game. My girlfriend is originally from Ecuador. When she immigrated to the USA, she got a job at a small convenience store grill in New York City. A customer came in and asked for a grilled cheese. My girlfriend had no idea how to make one, but assumed it was like another grilled sandwich, so she took a slice or two of cheese and just threw it straight on the grill. No bread, just cheese on a hot grill. The customer thought she was insane. So now I always ask my girlfriend for a grilled cheese just to annoy her. My husband points out any clothes that are pink, white, and brown/black by announcing that there's Neapolitan clothes around. One of us sigh, the other duck. I always fake faint when my so takes off her clothes, and I tell that she's so hot that I can't handle. I don't have a so, but I do have a best friend. Whenever we are playing video games and we level up, or we see someone complete a heavy task, one of us says +1 biceps. We came up with it at a sleepover, and we've been saying it ever since 7 years and counting. Everybody has filler words they use in speech. My wife says buttum. One time she said that I interjected with a TSSH, which she was so amused by much she does it herself now. A sting has become our thinking noise. Linda from Bob's Burgers sings a Thanksgiving song with the lyrics MMM. The turkey is great, so for whatever reason we sing MMM. The marriage is great to each other. If one of us says I'm pink and fluffy, that means we want to cuddle, or just affection in general. We don't live together, so when we are apart and one of us texts this phrase, we send each other gifs of cuddling animals. It's not necessarily a joke, but it started a one and evolved into a simple way to tell each other how we are feeling. One time my most recent BF was over at my apartment, and we had cooked a frozen pizza, and we were sitting at the island, and before he started eating he got the Sriracha out of my fridge, and then sat down. He opened the bottle and started putting Sriracha on my pizza, and it just happened that there was an olive on the pizza in a perfect spot, that the way the Sriracha came out of the bottle at first, it filled the empty spot in the middle of the olive. And then my BF, haha, I filled up your olive. From that time on, one of us would say it every time we had pizza with olives on it. If other people were around, they were clearly lost. That's a duck. She got attacked and bitten by ducks as a kid, and is still kinda afraid of ducks. We change the words for everyday objects. GLORPS equals GLASSESFORP equals FORKROOMBY equals ROOMBACHIMPS equals CHIPS. Also, that my stuffed animal gorilla is our baby, and he has a whole backstory, and is also a DJ at a diner down the street. Whenever we drive through rural areas with company of others, we lean towards each other and softly say hey in a tone like we are about to say something else, but don't. We are not saying hey, but instead saying hey, because we are driving past stacks of hay bales in the farmlands. When we are by ourselves it becomes more competitive, and now I'm laughing to myself cause she's overseas for a conference, and I miss her. Random rock metal references. Calling something Blackheath for example means it's devoid of people and happenings. This is because a band called Demon has a song called Blackheath. Blackheath nothing goes on here. We got more but that's probably the most common. When you take Nickel and Aquil at the same time. Flenching my cysts when I took a chip off her and she got mad. The nickname Chunky Saint Beans came from using a Snapchat filter that makes you look like a squirrel, and recreating Charlie bit my finger as Chunky bit my finger, and then while playing Red Dead Redemption 2, she starting laughing hysterically, and I asked her what was funny, and she thought this very serious, very dark game named its New Orleans Standard Saint Beans. She couldn't read the stylized font they use for Saint Denis, thus, Chunky Saint Beans. Lycopene. Skull. It's from I think K-On, when they all go on a trip to the countryside and fear trying to go to sleep, and everyone's being quiet, and one of them says lycopene and they all start snickering and giggling, while trying to be quiet, because they need to sleep. After another pause, someone says skull, and they all giggle again. I say it when we're trying to go to sleep, but no we're both still awake. Gets my husband to giggle. Every time we see Carrie Fisher on the screen, one of us asks you got any coke? Or tries to twist her dialogue into a drug reference. Yes, we are awful people. Variations on the non-word reprimand. I was monologuing to him one day about something or other and started forgetting words as one does, but was going so fast that I couldn't stop speaking, so I gave it my best shot at the word I was looking for. I was trying to say represent, but it came out reprimand. He won't let me live it down, and now whenever one of us mispronounces a word, we bring up reprimand. After finding my old furby from when I was a kid, remember the original ones with the cold, soulless eyes? In a storage box, I decided to hide it in one of the kitchen cupboards when I knew he'd be making dinner to freak him out. It worked, and began our tradition of hiding it in random places around the house for the other to find. Every time she says, we'll do insert random thing here someday, I'll always pretend to hear it as Sunday instead of someday, and get enthusiastic that it'll happen soon. Teasing each other about our secret fling. My mistress is Tiffany. Her boy toy is Sven. So if she's going to the movies with a friend or something and asks what I'm gonna do that night, I'll tell her I'm gonna get Tiffany to come round. Or if I'm too tired to give her a massage, she says she'll get Sven to do it. My dude has a pretty physically exerting work schedule, so recently he turned to energy drinks and pure espresso shots for extra energy. Apparently he found out he can be quite caffeine sensitive because the rush hit him fast. So now, anytime any energy boosting liquid is near us, we must refer to it as juice that makes you explode. Party Rock City. Went to a Shinedown concert and the lady in front of me and my GF was rocking out as hard as she could the entire concert. Even during Simple Man, which is a pretty slow song. Turned back to us during the break before the last song and told us she had done a ton of shrooms before the show. A lot of things suddenly made sense. I call my boyfriend non-existent. We joke a lot with her not being just a part of my imagination. One time she mistyped and called me Bab instead of Babe, and now we incessantly call each other Bab. Anytime something fun or exciting is going on, we will say to the other one Kits booyah in a terrible impression of a German accent. It's from this time we went skiing at J Peak, and that was the name of a Great Glades run. Anytime we passed it, we would ask in that accent, and we just kept using the phrase after the trip. Dale, where's my seltzer? And WHEN will YOULARN? Perhaps they are not inside jokes, but these are some things I love to do with her when something good happens. We try to sing We Are the Champions. She knows I love Star Wars, and that Emperor Palpatine is my favorite character. So, when she wants to tease me, she says I'm the Senate. Tickle fight ensues. Sometimes we just randomly meow at each other, or have conversations entirely in meows. We also do this thing when we see something expensive or really nice, but is really high maintenance, like a boat, and go, see, you don't want a boat, you want a friend with a boat. This has now extended to silly things like, you don't want a cat, you want a friend with a cat. It's quite entertaining. Friends and I were sitting around smoking. I have bad eyesight and wasn't wearing my glasses. I was trying to read something off of a computer screen from a few feet away when one of my friends said there's no way I could see the words I was trying to read. I squinted and confidently shouted Marty. Turns out the word was mostly Now, Marty, is our rallying cry when we decide to do something we'll likely fail. It's an inside joke, you won't get it. We always pronounce the C in scissors, like, skizzers. It's a bit of a lame joke, yeah, but it makes me smile, because I find it just a cute yet minor thing. We do it so much I sometimes even have trouble remembering to say it right around my friends and family. She was a manager at Taco Bell when we started dating. They had some saying called CHAMPS, which was basic corporate be courteous helpfully TC nonsense. She would call me champ whenever I was slow to realize something. The S in the abbreviation was for speedy. Jimmy. I haven't talked to her in a while, and I'm pretty worried. When I started dating so I had been going to Burning Man for 2 years. So when we were out sometimes I'd see something that I thought would be great to have at the event. He would always say to me in the most valley girl, vocal fried voice possible and pop out his hip and say, oh it's perfect for Burning Man. From then on something slightly burnerish, it's perfect for Burning Man. My other is I flubbed up saying whenstairs by saying whenstairs. And now neither of us can say whenstairs cause we said whenstairs so many times. In a field on a busy stretch of road near our house are all these homemade political signs. They change often and cover a variety of topics. It's usually crazy talk, like the ramblings of a crazy person. But we don't know who puts the signs up, so we've made up this whole persona for him. We've named him Sign Maker. He's the arch nemesis of Snacoma, which is a street name we saw once. Every now and then we'll raise our fists and curse Sign Maker and his evil ways. We same lamb at each other for no reason whatsoever. Back when Lost was in its first season, my husband and I saw a local girls call line commercial featuring Evangeline Lilly. It starts with her saying I like it when it's hot, and blah blah blah, they want to chat with you. So it's been almost 15 years now of dropping I like it when it's hot at opportune moments. Anytime we're wondering about basically anything out loud to one another, the correct and required response is well find out, in Sin Cana's accent from Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Acreage. My so like to talk about her dream house and wants a large plot of land. Whenever we drive by nice houses in suburbia, and I point them out, and ask what about that house, she responded with nice, but it needs more acreage. So now, whenever she gets pouty about some BS in her life, and I'll mimic her, and start complaining about how whatever she's complaining about doesn't have enough acreage, to which she laughs, I laugh, and the mood instantly improves. Me and my best friend is from a Christian church. There was a day where we were drinking beers when a group of girls came over to us and handed us 5 beers. We said thanks and said to each other it was a board. I use the good old way to go pull or nice Ron whenever he messes up somehow. One night my so and I were cuddling and teasing each other. We were going at it for quite a while and couldn't be more in the mood. When I finally went inside her, I whispered jiggly-do, have some Cuddler do in a silly tone and voice. She bursted in laughter and was still laughing after we finished. It became a little challenge to say that phrase to each other in the most unexpected times possible. In Australia we gave a supermarket called Woolworths, which everyone shortens to Woolies. Hubs texted me saying he was going to Woolies, but for some reason it came out as Wookiees. And so in our house the supermarket is referred to as Wookiees. We also have an ongoing joke that Baristas can't get his name right, so instead of calling him Matt I call him Maximum. So you don't want me to pull out? It isn't an inside joke between just my boyfriend and I, but it is one for us nonetheless. My boyfriend and I were at the officer election meeting for a club that I was in, and he was standing behind me doing my hair. I randomly stated that I found a way to breathe underwater and then asked if those present wanted to see it before holding my cup over my head. My boyfriend takes it and asks, "What are we doing?" Most of us lost it at his reaction, and one of our mutual friends had to explain it to him.